Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Joanne Hart and I am an online voice teacher. I'm a complete musical theater nerd and I love working with my singers to help them develop more confidence and freedom in their singing. If that sounds like something that you need, there's a link down below. You can go ahead and join the waitlist for voice lessons and we can chat about how I can help you reach your goals and develop more confidence with your singing voice. And today's video is brought to you by the Daily Voice Check-In. The Daily Voice Check-In is a system that I created. You may have seen it on Instagram, and it is meant to help you keep track of what is happening with your voice every single day so that you can see what's working and what isn't so that you can get the best results possible. You can get 50% off right now at the link down below in the description box. Without further ado, let's hop into today's topic. This is a little bit of a different video. I don't normally sit down and just talk to you, but I'm really excited to do that today. We're going to be talking about professionalism. So this is something that comes up a lot in lessons and that I have experienced myself a lot in the industry is conversations surrounding professionalism. With regard to lessons, I see students who show up who might be not as prepared as they would like to be. Maybe they didn't get to practice every single day, and so they haven't been able to do all the homework I assigned last week, things like that. And so they show up and they'll apologize and say, oh my gosh, it was so unprofessional of me to show up to a voice lesson with not being fully prepared. In the industry, I've seen professionalism on a wide range. I've seen everything from not being sure of how to slate, maybe not slating correctly. I've seen people just straight up not communicate about professional paid gigs. I have seen people not show up to rehearsals, and I have also seen people be extremely apologetic about being a human being. I want to talk about what professionalism is versus what it isn't, because there's such a spectrum of what people consider to be professionalism. I feel like a lot of people are afraid of being perceived as unprofessional, especially given the state of the world currently and being unsure of how to navigate that. So first of all, I want to talk about what professionalism is not. Professionalism is not being perfect. You don't have to be perfect in order to be professional. You are allowed to be a human. You do not have to be a carbon copy of everybody else that's out there. I have literally been the person who's walked into auditions and I have said my slate the way that I was coached and I sound like every single other person, and I've actually gotten critiqued on that and been told, hi, we want to see that you're a human. We don't want to see that you're just a little carbon copy musical theater girl who can say hi cutely. So that's actually like a legitimate note that I've been given, is to appear a lot more warm and not be a carbon copy of every single other person when I walk into the room. So that is one thing that professionalism is not. It is not being a carbon copy. It is not being perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be prepared and you need to know what you're doing, but you don't need to apologize for being an imperfect human, because that's everybody. We are all imperfect humans. Perfection doesn't exist, and so striving for it is actually unhealthy. It's not something that we're even able to achieve, so why are we putting so much emphasis on becoming that? One thing that is not professionalism is being a doormat. And this is one of the things that we've seen talked about a lot lately. In the entertainment industry, we are taught at a very young age not to ever say a bad thing about anybody, not to ever stand up for ourselves when we're being mistreated. And we are basically being gaslit from a very young age because we're being taught not to stand up against authority that might be mistreating us. That's not helpful. And also, being a doormat is not a mark of professionalism. It's called being a doormat, and it's not helpful to you, and it's not helpful to others either. Truthfully, it is not. If you are being mistreated, stand up for yourself, because you matter and you're worth it. I have been in the position before where people in authority over me mistreated me, and I stood up for myself, and it actually did work out for me. We didn't necessarily have a fantastic relationship after that because there were some definite real issues there, but standing up for myself and advocating for myself actually allowed me to find a lot more freedom and gain back a little bit of the control in my life and in my career. And it was very important for me personally because I learned a lot about myself in the process, but also professionally because I was able to actually get the things professionally that I was looking for. And I do know that as much as there was conflict, I still gained respect. You need to be able to advocate for yourself. So being able to advocate for yourself is a mark of professionalism. Knowing your inherent value, knowing where you stand, knowing that you are able to be an authority on yourself, that is professionalism. Knowing who you are is professionalism. Knowing what you're willing to accept and what you aren't is professionalism. Being a doormat is not. Actually, that's abuse. Like if you are being told that you need to be a doormat, if you're being told that you need to not stand up for yourself in dangerous situations or unhealthy situations, that is a form of abuse. And that's not okay. Another thing that professionalism isn't, I'm going to talk about this in regards to voice lessons. Yes, you want to be professional because you're working with another person who is a professional and you are collaborating and you are learning from them, but your voice lesson is not the place that you need to show up being perfect and having done all of the work. If I tell you to do something, then it's for your own good, then yes, I want to see you do that, but also I'm there to help you. My job as a voice teacher and like what you're paying me for when you show up to lessons is to help you. And so if there's ever something that you're struggling with, if there's something that you haven't had a chance to get to, if you're just having a day and you're not as prepared as you would like to be, that's okay. In academic settings, it's different. And I have a lot of opinions about that because I've been in academic settings and I've actually taught in a college, and I've definitely experienced lack of preparation and lack of effort in lessons in professional settings, and it's really, really hard as the professor, but also my job is to help you. And so what I need more than anything as the teacher is for you to communicate with me and let me know what you need and what support you need. And if there's a deadline that you're supposed to be reaching that you're not able to reach, we need to have a conversation about that and figure out either one, how I can help you get there, or two, if we're gonna decide to change course and maybe not do that, or maybe delay a project or something like that. We need to be able to have those conversations. And so feeling like you have to show up as perfect to a voice lesson is not helpful for you. And it's actually not helpful for me either, because I have a hard time helping you if I don't know exactly like where you're at. So don't worry about showing up perfectly professional to your voice lessons. These are the times that you are going to get support and grow and be a human. Like it's okay for you to be a human. I want to make that very, very, very clear. Not being professional is not communicating. If you are hired for a gig and you do not communicate with your director about conflicts, if you do not communicate with your director about anything, that's unprofessional. You need to communicate. That is absolutely 100%. I think the number one thing that makes you professional is communication. People are compassionate and understanding when things come up, so long as you are upfront with them. So communicate, 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 communicate. Number one thing I want to get across in this video: if you want to be professional, you need to communicate. Number two, professionalism is also doing your work and being prepared. Show up knowing what you're going to be singing. Know your notes and rhythms, know your character, know your choices, and be available for direction. That doesn't mean you need to be perfect. That doesn't mean that you show up to a first rehearsal being ready to step on stage. That's not really realistic. It's also why rehearsals exist. But you need to be prepared. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to have an outline of what you're bringing to the performance, because that is what allows you to actually create a sellable work. That's what allows you to create the art that's going to then be on display for an audience. So professionalism, communicate, be prepared. Also follow directions, be directable. It is so important to be able to take direction, especially as a performer. If you are a director, obviously you're giving the direction, but if you're a performer, you need to be able to take direction. You need to be able to take the director's vision and make it the product that's going on stage. So you're bringing in a product, you are bringing in yourself and your interpretation of the work that you are putting on, and then you are letting the director mold that interpretation into the finished product that is going to go on stage and that is going to be shown to your audience. And so you need to be able to take direction. That is really, really important, and that is the mark of a good professional. Being able to think on your feet too is a good thing. You also want to have, when you're walking into auditions, clearly marked music. Be able to communicate with your accompanist. Understand what's going on in your music. Please, if you are a musician, be able to read music. If you don't know how to read music, let me know, because it is vital and I will help you. If you need to learn how to read music, I will help you. This is a skill that you absolutely need to have if you want to be a professional musician. If you want to sing, if you want to play an instrument, you need to be able to read music. This is literally the language that musicians communicate in. You need to be able to be handed a piece of music and learn it. That is professionalism as well in the world of music. Being able to learn your music. You need to be able to read notes and rhythms. You need to be able to figure out what your part is, and you need to be able to develop that outside of rehearsals. You don't want somebody to be holding your hand through the process. That's not helpful. So know how to read music. So I've talked about behavior as far as professionalism goes, but we do need to address attire, because your attire matters as well. So professional attire in musical theater is different than in classical. And it's different depending on what instrument you play, what genre you're in. It changes based on your world. So be sure to do a little bit of research on whatever world you are in to determine what professionalism is in that circle. So I'm gonna speak specifically to classical voice and musical theater right now. So for men, overall it's pretty easy. You get to wear pants and a nice shirt, especially in classical, you get to wear pants and a nice shirt. In musical theater, yours is gonna be similar to the women's. You're gonna wanna dress pretty close to the character, not like in costume, but dress to the character, and just in general look nice. Like, don't wear your basketball shorts and your muscle tank to an audition. Like, that's not professional. Specifically for women. So the classical world and the musical theater world have different expectations for women as far as attire goes. So if you're in classical, you are going to need to be wearing something that covers your knees. And I often have worn longer dresses, and I've worn tights as well, just to be on the safe side in the classical world. So this is a really important thing, is to make sure that you have a long enough dress. It is also the expectation, unless you are actually playing a pants role, that you do wear a dress in classical. Make sure that if you are auditioning for a role that is not a pants role and you are a woman, that you are wearing a dress, you wanna make sure that your knees are covered. Shoulders, they're not quite as big of a deal. You don't need to like make sure your shoulders are covered. We're not in school, but you wanna make sure that you are professional up top as well, that things are not too revealing. And you do want to be close to the character. You want to make sure that you are believable as the character. But in classical, it is much more important to make sure that you have a very nice uniform appearance. It's business attire, a little even more dressy than that sometimes. You want to make sure that you are wearing a nice dress. Solid color tends to be a good idea for auditioning in general, because then you're not detracting attention from your face, which you want to make sure is the focus, because you're singing and you're acting with your face. You're not acting with a print on your dress. So anything solid color is a good idea, but make sure it is appropriate up top. You wanna make sure it's covering your knees. If you're wearing heels, you wanna make sure that they're no more than 1.5 inches. And that tends to be the standard in the classical world that I have seen. In musical theater, there is a lot more freedom. You can wear jeans to auditions if it's appropriate for the character. You don't want to show up in your athleisure gym attire unless you're auditioning for a character and they've specifically asked for that, or unless you're going to a dance call where like Lululemon is standard to wear for dance calls and things like that. But if you're showing up to an audition in general, you want to dress professionally, relatively in character. You want to dress appropriately, so don't show up in like a raunchy outfit that you'd wear to the club. It's generally not advised, but you want to make sure that you are believable in character. And it's not quite as strict as the classical world. There's a lot more leeway with what you're allowed to wear, And I've worn dresses to auditions, but I've also worn pants a lot because I like being able to move a little bit more, and especially when you're auditioning for more contemporary musicals, your costumes are likely not going to be all dresses, so it's a lot more acceptable to wear pants, which I just personally prefer because it's more comfortable. So those are kind of the attire expectations for musical theater versus the classical world. So just to wrap up, being professional means that you are communicative. You are organized. You are prepared. You know who you are. You are an authentic human. You speak up when you need to. Those are marks of professionalism. Unprofessionalism is not communicating. It is honestly being a carbon copy. It's not very professional to be a carbon copy. You need to be your own person. That's what's interesting to watch. That's what people want to experience. That's who people want to work with. They don't want to work with a carbon copy. And you're worth not being a carbon copy. Just so you know, what you have to bring is valuable, and so you are worth making the choices to not be a carbon copy. Lack of professionalism is being straight up disrespectful, being unprepared. These things are all unprofessional. Also, if you're in music, be able to read music. I know that there's some controversy on that topic in regard to singers, but as a singer for my entire life, read music, be able to read music, be able to know how to navigate music, and that truly is, in my opinion, a mark of professionalism, and a lack of professionalism is not knowing how to read music and not being willing to take steps to learn how to. It's okay to make mistakes. I've been reading music since I was, how old was I in the 3rd grade? I've been reading music for almost 20 years now, and I still make mistakes regularly because I'm human. And also, I didn't get really good or really consistent with reading music until I was in like late high school, early college, because it wasn't something that I made a habit. But I've been reading music for 20 years and I still make mistakes. It is okay to make mistakes. What it's not okay to do is not try. So I hope this encouraged you. I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that you've been told that are marks of professionalism? I'd love to hear them. Drop them down below. If you liked this video, be sure to like it and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!